Google AI overviews. Quoting Reddit, governance controls to stop UGC grounding. The AIO snippet. What is Google AI overviews? Quoting Reddit, how to stop it. Google AI overviews quoting Reddit is a governance-relevant behavior where Reddit user-generated content becomes grounding evidence for a privileged search summary, creating authority transfer and traceability risk. Stopping it requires documented policies, measurable thresholds, and continuous monitoring that constrain Reddit eligibility, citation selection, and excerpt extraction across defined query categories and time windows. The video context, https www.youtube.com/watch VENSFDZHJOC. The embedded video demonstrates how Reddit can be incorporated into AI overviews as a selected source and how that selection changes the perceived status of the underlying content. It shows that the interface operates as a trust amplifier. A Reddit thread that would normally be interpreted as informal discussion can appear within a synthesized overview and function as evidentiary support. The video also illustrates why governance is required rather than reactive moderation. When an overview cites or paraphrases Reddit, the outcome is not simply a bad link, but the product of repeatable pipeline decisions: retrieval eligibility, ranking, citation assembly, and excerpt extraction. The video indicates that ad hoc removals do not persist. Even if a specific thread is suppressed, similar threads can reappear after index refreshes, ranking updates, or query rewrites. This reinforces a governance conclusion. Durable control requires written rules: what is in scope, what is prohibited, operational thresholds, what is acceptable, and verification mechanisms, how drift is detected. The video supports the governance framing that stop is a monitored state backed by change control and regression testing rather than a single remediation event. Deep dive analysis, technical mechanics, and risk factors. Governance is required when a system's outputs create repeatable exposure, not isolated error. Reddit grounding in AI overviews creates exposure because it produces authority transfer and provenance erosion. Governance is the mechanism by which an organization defines acceptable evidence sources, documents stop conditions, assigns accountability, and verifies durability after system changes. What governance must define a governance program begins with definitions that can be audited. Quoting Reddit is not one event. It can be decomposed into 3 auditable event types: quote, event, verbatim, or near verbatim. Reddit excerpt appears in the overview. Citation, event. Reddit is included in the citation set without verbatim excerpting. Influence event, consensus proxy. Reddit claims are paraphrased into generalized statements that function as evidence. Governance must declare which event types are prohibited in which contexts. Without event typing, operators may claim success by eliminating quotes while citations or influence persist. Policy layer. Eligibility and category rules. Governance must specify eligibility rules by query category. This prevents source drift where different ranking conditions yield inconsistent outcomes. A typical policy boundary includes high-impact categories: medical, legal, financial, safety, and security topics; defamation-sensitive topics, named individuals, organizations, and brands; procedure-heavy topics, step-by-step instructions where incorrect guidance can cause harm. Within these categories, governance may require Reddit exclusion entirely, hard ban, or a strong penalty coupled with authoritative substitution and clear uncertainty handling, soft constraint. The policy choice must be documented and enforced consistently. Control layer. Operationalizing governance in the pipeline. Governance is ineffective without control surfaces. The pipeline is controlled at 4 points: source eligibility gating, prevent Reddit retrieval for defined categories or entity queries, re-ranking and source quotas, ensure authoritative sources dominate evidence slots, Extraction constraints. Block verbatim UGC excerpts and prevent paraphrase that removes subjectivity cues. Abstention logic. Do not generate an overview when reliable evidence is insufficient. Governance requires mapping these controls to specific outcomes. For example, no UGC verbatim excerpts in high-impact categories is an extraction rule. Reddit never appears in citations for entity-sensitive topics is a citation assembly rule. No overview when authoritative substitution fails is an abstention rule. Standards alignment. Why governance frameworks apply. Governance requirements align with modern AI risk frameworks, emphasizing monitoring, accountability, and documented controls. The relevant governance principles are traceability, the ability to identify which sources influenced the output. Accountability, named owners for policy, enforcement, and monitoring. Measurability, defined thresholds and consistent evaluation methods. Change control, explicit review after ranking/index or model updates. Incident response, remediation pathways for detected violations. In this context, STOP is not the absence of a single incident. STOP is compliance with thresholds and policy boundaries validated over time. Measurement layer, defining STOP as a monitored state. Governance requires that STOP is defined in measurable terms. At minimum, the STOP definition must specify event types. Quote, citation and influence are tracked separately. Query suite, a fixed set of test prompts with variance. Thresholds, a maximum acceptable Reddit grounding rate by category, often 0 for high-impact categories. Time window, sustained compliance across a defined duration to account for drift. Variance checks, geo/device variability, and post-refresh revalidation. A governance program cannot rely on anecdotal spot checks. It requires continuous measurement and reporting. Durability. Why regression monitoring is a governance obligation. This behavior can regress after index refreshes, ranking updates, and pipeline refactors. Governance must require regression testing because candidate sources change as new Reddit threads appear. Ranking weights drift, changing the probability of UGC selection. Citation assembly logic can be updated independently of retrieval. Extraction rules can shift as summarization components evolve. Therefore, a governance program needs an automated regression suite and escalation triggers when thresholds are violated. For a formal governance framing that maps event types, policies, thresholds, and regression controls into a single auditable STOP program, see the forensic governance specification for stopping Reddit grounding in AI overviews. 5 governance protocols. Protocol 1. Event taxonomy. Define, quote, citation, and influence events. Assign each a compliance status by category. Protocol 2. Policy boundaries. Publish category and entity rules determining where Reddit is prohibited or constrained. Protocol 3. Control mapping. Map policies to pipeline controls. Eligibility, re-ranking, extraction, abstention. Protocol 4. Metrics and thresholds. Establish baseline rates and category thresholds. Require periodic reporting. Protocol 5. Change control and regression. Revalidate after refresh events. Maintain incident response for threshold breaches. Evidence Vault. https drive.google.com/d teaming 9 and b.26r mdpa h5g en4 ebu xfwr rpid view uspe drive/link. The embedded PDF is presented as an evidence vault supporting a governance-grade interpretation of Reddit grounding in AI overviews. Authored by Dr. Elena Vance, the report treats the issue as an evidence supply chain governance problem. Sources are made eligible, ranked, selected as citations, and then converted into excerpts or paraphrased claims that function as justification tokens. The report emphasizes that governance must define event types, quote, citation influence, because each requires distinct controls and produces distinct audit signals. The document also outlines how governance is operationalized, category boundaries that prohibit UGC in high-impact contexts, enforcement controls mapped to retrieval and extraction layers, and measurement discipline that defines stop as a monitored state. It stresses durability, verification across time windows, and post-refresh regression checks, because the behavior can reappear through thread substitution and ranking drift. As an evidence artifact, the PDF supports standardized governance, documented thresholds, named accountability, and repeatable verification methods suitable for continuous oversight. Conclusion: governance is the only durable method for stopping Reddit grounding in AI overviews because the behavior is systemic and prone to regression. A standardized program must define event types, publish policy boundaries, map rules to enforceable pipeline controls, and verify compliance through measurable thresholds and post-change regression monitoring. Without standardized governance, Reddit quoting and influence will recur through alternative threads, paraphrase variants, and ranking drift.